Howdy, hi, hey. We're back and we're doing it. This is a interesting layout, interesting dynamic for what I'm doing. I'm actually trying some new technical stuff in terms of camera angles and audio, so I thought, why not try it in the comfort of my own home, in the crux of my basement, blasting myself with red light. I was just gone for 10 days for business. I was in Minnesota, quite the state. Groundwater is impeccable. Highways are impeccable. The driving is subpar. Only reason being, I believe, I was kind of one-sided during this whole trip. I was driving a Hyundai Elantra. It was a coupe or a sedan, whatever you would like to call it, four-door. And I'm not used to driving such small, quick, tight vehicles. And there was plenty of times where I found myself speeding, not knowing I was speeding. I'm usually a 75, 80 mile an hour driver. I was easily going 95, 100 times, just based off of the digital display, the screen, things of that nature. I actually got pulled over late at night, coming back from a flight. While I was there for 10 days over a weekend, and I'll get there, but I got pulled over, and the issue is that they bombarded me and they were asking me a lot of questions when I first got this rental, to see if I had insurance on it, and I was rented through my company, so I wasn't sure whether or not I had insurance, but I just said yes and went pushing forward. And then when I got pulled over, the first thing the cop asked me, the Minnesota cop, after he said I almost blew his doors off, he asked for my license and the insurance. I told him it was a rental. He said, well, you can't get these things without insurance, so I'm assuming you have it. Let's just say I have no idea where that could have went if it went otherwise. So he let me off with a warning, and let's just say Minnesota cops are probably one of the most reluctant and easygoing fellows. I can't say that I wasn't completely symbiotic with the character types that were out there. I was wearing a shirt very similar to what I am now. I was actually dressed very similar to how I am now. So I feel that I met the part in terms of keeping his guard low, and I had also used the digital display as an excuse, and I said that I don't usually ride these type of cars. I drive a big truck with analog dashboard. I'm not used to this digital stuff. And he said, use the cruise control. I said, sir, won't even bother. I'll just use the brakes. So yeah, but yeah, over that time span, I was there for 10 days, including a weekend. I have a friend who is a digital marketer. He's got a lot of experience in videography and photography, professional experience at that. And he had been kind enough to request or ask me to film one of his personal projects where he lives in St. Louis. So the flight from MSP, Minnesota, St. Paul, takes you to Chicago. It's an hour flight, and then from Chicago to St. Louis. And I did that on a Friday night, flew back Sunday. So we shot a badass commercial within under a 24-hour span, and I'll include what we shot. But a lot of difficulties came with this shoot. Obviously, it's not warm in St. Louis right now, so I was, trotting around in a penny and shorts, getting sprayed with water to emulate sweat, and it was almost evaporating instantaneously. So to say that I was in a great state of mind during that time, it was hard. It was hard to do. Everybody wants to do all this stuff with film and videography and being in commercials, and be careful what you wish for. That shit is difficult. Sitting in a desk or a cubicle, or doing whatever job you have, whether it's blue collar, white collar. Filming is meticulous, and most of the time the directors have a very specific thing that they're going to try to meet and specify when it comes to the film. Also, you have to know that there's multiple shots, so everything that was displayed in this 30-second commercial, say there's 10 angles that we caught, or 10 situations, or 10 scenes that we got. For each of those 10 scenes, you'd be shit mistaken if you think they were shot one time and you move on. Each of those scenes, whether it's a 6-second clip or not, you shoot that angle probably 10 to 20 times. And each of those film or those clip lengths on the raw side, on the raw and edited side, are probably 20 to 30 to even 40 seconds long. So you got to think, for each angle you're getting 10 to 20 shots, and they're each 30 seconds long. So it can take a long time, especially when those locations are far and spread out and you have to meet certain needs. Like a lot of the shots that appeared to be in a studio, blacked out background and everything, they were not. They were shot at a cottage B&B in the middle of nowhere, Missouri. And it was raining, so we couldn't shoot that stuff outside until like 3 a.m. We didn't end up stop shooting those dark scenes until about 5:36, then immediately trekked back to the city to finish up the day and for me to catch my flight. So again, be careful what you wish for. I embrace those things, though. I like doing things that are hard. The person that shot that with me, do we meet on all chords? Do we meet on all, standard? Do we meet and do we agree on everything? No, not at all. That's not the point, though. It was bigger than me and him, and we were there to do something great. We were there to do something special. We had a goal in mind, and the logistics of it, necessarily didn't pan out day to day or even week to week planning it. But me and him both found a way, and I think that's really important for people that to understand that not everything is just going to give you or going to be given to you on a silver platter. It's not going to be this easy conjunction of getting to point A to point B. There's almost always going to be ruptures or blocks or barriers in the road in front of you. It's just about how you handle those and how you meet those and the attitude that you have. It's like a delayed gratification, you're not necessarily going to get that stuff up front. Like, I still don't have the final edit. Am I really going to be able to do anything with that film in the long run? Maybe, maybe not. But it was life altering. And on top of what I was gone for business was life altering as well. So, the past 10 days have been a whirlwind. I did not sleep over that weekend either. We didn't sleep at all. I got into St. Louis about 1 a.m. Didn't go to bed till about 3:34. Woke up the next morning at 9. Shot to 5 on Saturday. 9 to 5 shooting. Packed up a car to the fucking brewerism, and then trekked out there to middle of nowhere, ate dinner, and we couldn't do anything because we were on and off looking at weather and doing all this crap and trying to figure it out. So be careful what you wish for, but also, understand that if you do like that type of thing or you like doing hard stuff, that understand that whatever you think it's going to present, it's probably almost going to present more than what you bargained for. So always understand that in those situations, and just be steadfast and hold your head high, and just know that you will ultimately achieve what you're setting out to do, as long as you have your values in place. And you're looking at it from this is a bigger than me standpoint. This isn't about me. This isn't about him, and he knows that. When two men can join for a common goal, it's almost miracle. It's almost a miracle in what that those people can accomplish, regardless. It's always like when you go to pray, when you pray together, it's a stronger prayer, or when people join in prayer, it's almost always a more powerful spiritual connection that you are creating because of the situation you're in. Or, I go back to my one saying, shared joy is double joy and shared sorrow is half a sorrow, because you're delineating that pressure off of yourself by sharing angst or an issue with another person. So they're giving you sympathy, not that you're looking for sympathy, but taking that and splitting that pain between two people and having somebody to, a shoulder to cry on, or a person to give you a dap up is very important. So understand that when you got a good friend, use them, not in the abusive way, but use them to share your joy as well. Don't always just divulge bad stuff onto them. Tell them when good stuff happens. That way you can actually understand the difference between doubling the joy and doubling the sorrow that you have. I think that's really important. But traveling was awesome. I've never been to Missouri, never been to Minnesota, so going to those new states was awesome. You get to see, different parts of America, different parts of cities, and please don't take advantage of your populous city. If you live in a Northeast area, whether it's New York, Philly, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Massachusetts, Boston, Virginia area, even Florida, don't take what you have for granted, because you can go to a lot of these cities. And St. Louis specifically, I was extremely astonished with the vacancy of the actual city. I believe it's almost like 65% of the skyrise buildings are, vacant and uninhabited. And it almost looks as if it's like a Skate 3 map that they're getting ready to scan, or like a third world country like in the Middle East is going to come in and just clear it out and make it their own. So two things: if you have a nice city near you, enjoy it and savor it, because it's a rarity to have a city that is actually put together in that regard. And I would almost compare it to like a really good recruit. If you have a good city, they got all the resources, they got the entertainment, the food, the people, and it's not too much or not too little. I can say that a lot of cities probably have too little, and there's probably only one city in America that has too much, and that's New York and like LA. But you need those. You need those outliers in that regard. I think that American infrastructure is very interesting, especially when you travel to different locations in a short amount of time. It really expands your view and your perspective on things, and you should really be open and honest about that, and take it with a grain of salt, especially if you're having some issues around yourself. If you have $400 or $500, take a random trip to a random city where a friend lives and see what they're doing, see how they're living. The guy that shot this with me, he has a consistent schedule of waking up at 2:15 and going to bed at 7, because he's a marathon head. He's a runner. And, in a city like that, I can't blame him. It's tough. There's probably one day a week where there's actually something entertaining to do with a crowd of people without being in a dangerous area or going somewhere too bougie. Or out there, I think, it can be kind of difficult. So, a guy like that making sacrifices for himself and doing something bigger than himself, obviously he's got a really strict schedule, and he holds himself to a high standard. So he's very inspiring. And one thing I will take away that he said is, if you just do the little things, man, if you just do the little things day to day, everything else kind of takes care of itself. So pretty level-headed guy. Motherfucker put me through it for those 2 days, but shouts out to him, and shouts out to that video. But the infrastructure is interesting, and it also gets me I'm gonna try not to yell. It gets me so pissed off. I get so pissed off when people in suburban neighborhoods
who like to go on walks and runs and do those type of things don't use the infrastructure provided. Sidewalks. Use the sidewalk. Why are you and your couple walking through the neighborhood street?
We all complain about taxes this, taxes that, blah, blah, blah. But then we're walking in the middle of the street. We complain about health care.
Hit in the back of the head by because I'm looking down for a second in the neighborhood, because I'm assuming that everybody walking around is using the infrastructure, the sidewalks. You're use the sidewalks. It's the biggest pet peeve of mine, man. People have all these complaints about, healthcare it's unaffordable, or I can't access, or my copay's this, my copay's that, or all these taxes. I live in this nice neighborhood, the HOA fees through the roof. Blah, 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 blah. But then you and your wife want to walk in the middle of the road, daylight or even at night. It pisses me off. I know this was one couple. They walk around at night with 2 black dogs in the street wearing all black. If you're going to do that, wear a strobe light headlamp or something. Wear Volt. Wear reflective material. I get it. The sidewalks can be tight. People don't trim their trees on their yards or anything, so you have to duck or whatever. I don't want to hear any excuses. I don't, and I'm sorry for yelling. This is something that really ruffles my feathers. Use the sidewalk, man. There's neighborhoods without them, and I get it. You can't do that. Even so, get in your car, drive to a park, and do it there. But if you have the sidewalks, please use them. Please use your sidewalks. Use your sidewalks. Because you go bankrupt, you got to move to a neighborhood without them. Now what are you going to do? You're going to miss the sidewalks you used to have. Jeez Louise, man. Everybody's up in arms about Pedro Pascal being shoved down our throat in every which way. And you know what? More power to him. I'm happy. Pedro Pascal, be in every you can, do everything you possibly can, because there was a time where he was hated and he was an underdog and everybody wanted to see him succeed, but the dude goes in 3 big bomb movies and, everybody's mad at him now. Oh, I can't get enough of it's Pedro Pascal again. This guy, he's touchy, feely on whatchamacallit. Dude, what would you do? Come on, dude. Fucking A, man. Give the guy a break. Give the guy a break. He's an American actor. He's blew up, made millions of dollars in like 5 years. You wouldn't get touchy on the dance floor on the red carpet with Mrs. Fantastic Four. You wouldn't do that? Oh, I'm sure you wouldn't. You're just so morally correct. Sure. Yeah, I went to the Natural History Museum in New York City, and there was a planetarium exhibit, those dome TV screens like the IMAX ones, and they were doing this video on space. Dude, space right now is just throwing me so many curveballs. I can't tell if it's real, if it's fake, if there's an alien. Excuse me, that was from yelling. My voice cracked. That was from yelling. But I can't tell if there's an alien mothership, or it's just like a Project Bluebeam thing. I really don't know. I'm just gonna go Mayo brain about space and just assume that we're on a globe and that there's no edge of the earth and that there's no firmament, and it's just exactly what my 6th grade science teacher taught me. But I was watching this thing in the I'm not even gonna say it, the museum in New York, the one that was a Night at Museum with Ben Stiller, that same museum, and I was watching this, and it was such a good, it was a really good display. It was a really good video. But at the end, I found out that Pedro Pascal was narrating the entire thing, and you really couldn't tell. And it seemed to be a big sigh or a big gasp by the room. And I felt this disdain from the other. So I almost immediately thought, you know what? F that. Let this guy rip it up. Let this guy go. I think he deserves it. Because everybody, looks at celebrities, and they want to like put them on a pedestal or like make them these figures. And I don't think that's every celebrity that wants to hold this position of, power or value. I don't think that's the goal of being a celebrity or a movie star in any regard. I think the idea is that they should be of influence, and that's kind of, I think what they're set out to do. They want to influence people to live a certain lifestyle, or they use their story to show that, oh yeah, I was here and now I'm there. But I don't think, I think some people have a good mindset about it. That they understand that they're not some political figure, or they're not out there to change the world or do anything extreme. I think some people attach themselves to a cause and use their influence and their value to bring attention to that. But in those instances, I think it's important to take it with a grain of salt and realize that these guys are simply getting to the bag, in that regard. And I think there is a moral line in the sand to draw with certain things, like obviously like a guy like Travis Kelce, being a big pharma bull, like as an NFL player, like that's pretty retarded. So I can only assume that some of the downfall is attributed to his overconsumption of media and assuring people that he's going to do XYZ when realistically he should just shut up and juke. Yeah, let's go. And then guys like what's his name? Guys like Robert De Niro, like, oh, I should run for office now, or I should do. No, shut up, dude. You're old as you're having sex with like 40-year-olds and having babies at 70. Like, that's sick. Like, let that be your standalone, value or influence point. Like, let that be your thing. Like, nobody wants so you're gonna do that and then try to put yourself in office and then critique guys like DT or DJT. Like, dude, you're the same bull. You're the same guy. Like, come on, dude. Don't give me that shit. Like, I liked him a lot, and then he's, oh, yeah, I'm important. I'm smart, and like, you're 70, dude. You should have did that 20 years ago. Should have did that after you made Meet the Fockers, dude. That's why Ben Stiller is the GOAT. Shout out to Ben Stiller. I made 2 Ben Stiller references: Night at the Museum, and now Meet the Fockers. I mean, the guy's fucking sick. I love Ben Stiller. He's the fucking Mizan, dude. What the fuck was that? He's the man, dude. Yeah, and like in relation to that, like a lot of the sports analyst stuff and all the sports analyzing that's been going on recently has just been awful, man. All these people like with zero relevance to the game or zero like just like relation to actual, turmoil and teamwork and team and locker room ability. Like none of these guys have any like ration of understanding of what that stuff is like, and they're out here just like pity partying and putting all these opinions out there and just dying for admittance and approval from these people. And it's just like, no wonder this shit has been going so downhill. Like YouTube TV, I just heard today, didn't continue to deal with ESPN, and I get it, man. Like ESPN sucks, dude. Owned by Disney. They're just throwing whoever out there. They're fucking got a battery in Stephen A's back, and he's just rambling and spitting shit out of his mouth, and it doesn't even make sense. Like I know people that work for like sports media companies, and you sit down to have conversations with them about sports, like myself, somebody who's invested almost their entire life, for better or for worse, into sports. Like, you would assume that I have a decent understanding of the dynamic of the game. And when you try to conversate with them, it's like they brush you off the shoulder like they're some like Wall Street enthusiast about the history and understanding of sports. Like, dude, off. Like, you don't know shit. I don't want to go too deep down this rabbit hole, but it just gets frustrating because you look at these people and they have the only understanding of what they have is sports articles and statistics. Like, and if anybody knows anything, numbers lie. I know this quote is men lie, women lie, numbers don't. Numbers lie, especially when you pose them to an inference, or you're trying to assume an outcome with these like procured numbers. Like statistics, probability and statistics is a very, very new math. Casinos and betting started to become an actual feasible market in a way. So probability and statistics is a very new math in that regard, because it's kind of hard to determine the outcome of something, but people assume that they can create formulas and get to XYZ, which is a big reason behind the stock market and everything and people trading. So I get insulted, but I mean I could really care less anymore, because sports are just so fucking curated and fake. Like with all this stuff going on with the betting and the scandalous actions of a lot of the NBA players, and shaving points and doing all that stuff, like Paul Crew. It is what it is, man. Like if you're holding some sort of vanity to sports or a sports team, and you're investing emotions into it to a high regard, I think you're on a losing track. And you need to realize that there's a lot of other stuff there's a lot of other things out there that you can take up your time with and do for the better and improve yourself. Not that you can't enjoy it, be part of it, because it is. Like, I like being mayonnaise brain and going bread and circus and drinking beer and hanging out with friends and talking about that fat guy or that fast guy, like whatever. It's okay to do that. But if you're letting it succumb your entire life, and you're ultimately fixating opinions on others because of whatever their position or whatever. I mean, I guess I'm eating my own words at this point, but it's frustrating in that regard. I watched this movie recently. It was called Trans-America. I think it was made in the 80s or 90s. I'm not sure, but it was an extremely, extremely interesting movie. I thought I didn't expect to watch it. I was in a hotel, not on Cinemax, but like just on those HBO channels, and this movie popped up, and I was going to turn it off, but I didn't. I continued to watch it for a slew of reasons. It was cinematically, it was pretty entertaining, and I thought conceptually, for the time that it was made in, I thought it transcended the time span it was in, just due to how they perceived a lot of the characters, how they positioned them, and ultimately how it ended up, and just the whole idea of everything. And the main character, who was a transgender man, a man that became a woman, I thought it was, not that I could relate to it, but the perspective and the situation that they were in was extremely interesting, and I thought it was very well depicted. And how they were dealing with some of the things they had. I thought the storyline was really good. There was a lot of those situations, I can't recall what they are, but when the audience knows when the audience knows a part of the plot, and the characters in the movie don't know the plot. So there's a lot of that tension that builds, and I think older movies did a really good job of that, of separating characters in the movie from the audience, and giving the audience context to a plot, but having the actor in the movie remain unknowing of what the outcome is going to be. So I think a lot of older movies do that really well. That's lost in translation a lot of times today. So I think it's important to continue to watch older movies because they put a lot more into the plot and the characters because of the lack of cinematic resources in terms of CGI and camera work and teams and just funding and everything. So people had to do a lot more with a lot less in those days with movies, which is a big part of why I like to do what I do as an amateur in this space, is doing as much as I possibly can with as little as I possibly have, and just seeing what I can create and how I can improve and jut and move forward in that regard. I think it's really cool and interesting. But this movie Trans America, I really highly suggest watching it. I think for being made when it was, the evaluation of transgenderism, gay, bisexual, whatever, I thought it depicted it very well. And to be honest, I think a lot of people who share opinions with some of those groups and become pretty radicalized against others would watch this movie and probably take a red pill, or just become a little bit more naturalized to the opposing opinion about some of these groups, and realize what where they might be extreme in, or where they might be lacking in forgiveness or understanding for others. So I definitely highly suggest watching that. Don't be scared, don't be judged for watching that. It's whatever, you're watching a trans, it's not even that tranny, it's not even that type of transgender movie. I think it was really good. It was really, really, really good. The fear of that, fear of something, that never happened. Like, has anybody ever really judged you for like watching something weird or kind of like gay in that regard? No, I mean, no, like you might get made fun of for a little bit, but I feel like that fear is irrational. And a lot of the times we have a lot of fear of stuff that's never happened to us before. And I believe that's an irrational fear. Like for somebody like living in a dangerous area, saying like, oh, you can't walk around at night, like you might get robbed or shot or stabbed or killed. And you're like, have you heard of that happening to anybody close to you in this area? Has that ever happened to you? And most of the time they're going to say, no, it's never happened to me. Nothing like that's ever happened. I've never seen anything like that, never heard of it, never seen it. I see it on the news, whatever. That's an irrational fear. I think it's important to not have these irrational fears, because they ultimately will limit your decision making and the opportunity for you to take a chance for yourself, whether it's going out into the world and going to a new place, or trying something different, or talking to somebody different. That irrational fear will limit you a lot more than it aids you in terms of keeping you safe and giving you sanctity. I think that's really important to understand that. You need to look at your fears and rationalize them. And if you have experience in, going through something and it being, scarring or giving you trauma, obviously you should, evaluate that for yourself and, take that with a grain of salt moving forward. But if you have an irrational fear of something that's never happened to you before, remove that and go out there and do the damn thing. Like me riding my, my manual vehicle, my 4-cylinder, naturally aspirated vintage manual vehicle. I have a lot of rational fears about driving it until you conquer those things, and ultimately that car becomes an extension of you, and you get really comfortable and use it a lot more, and that allows you to meet friends and go out into the world and do different things. It's important. I think that's really important, and that kind of comes with limiting some of the predispositions you might have, whether they're racial, whether they're just like prefixed opinions about geolocations or a group of people. If you're discriminatory in that regard, and everybody is in a way, everybody's got a bit of racism or discrimination deeply embedded into their body, their lives, and their mind. for their own reasons, or for reasons that were passed on down to you. And I think that's just natural. People of the past, that's how they progressed and evolutionized with their settlements, and it's how they gained land and how they lost land is because predispositions and understanding that this person wants to harm me and limit my exposure and my progression through life, or this person I'm making a rash predisposition about who they are, who they might be as a person. So should I limit this predisposition and open up my mind and thoughts and body to who they are and why they are who they are? Because everybody is an individual at the end of the day. So it's important to treat everybody in that regard if you want to be treated like that, especially if you assume that the world is having predispositions or discriminatory beliefs about you based on your perception. I think a lot of that is self-imposed, and that if you can remove that grail from yourself, you will ultimately open up your mind to others, and you'll find out that nobody really cares or thinks of you in that way because they're not really paying attention to you to that to that level or that regard. And obviously you'll realize that when you do that, you don't realize you're not paying attention to others in that way either. So a lot of that is it's your mind against your mind, it's yourself against yourself. But it takes practice. It takes you removing those those thoughts and those mind frames, and just kind of gelling out into the world, and just being a part of what's happening day to day. And I think that's important. I have a block stacking example that I was going to share in this regard, and I'll probably put it in now.
I'm going to do this the best I can. This is my stacking the blocks theory. So realistically, let's just draw 3 rows right here, like in a tiered system, right? And this is let's just call this fun, like all the extracurricular activities. Let's just go beer, boys, bitches, drugs, or bongs. We're gonna keep all B's here, and we're just gonna go etc, right? And then we're gonna put here. I'm just gonna put career, like whatever you're looking to, whatever you're really looking to adhere to in your career. So we're just gonna put career there, and then we're gonna put you, family, what else? Just generic stuff that you should fulfill, your personal and your family. We'll put destiny. All things inclusive here, because obviously, let's just put it here. It's like the 3 points of a pyramid, like your education, your social life, and then you or whatever. And there's always that thing where you can only choose 2. You can't do the 3rd. So how are you going to work that out? But we're going to get rid of that, so we're not confused in this regard, because this is not what I'm talking about. But it's a very similar theory. So obviously, if you take all of your time and you evenly distribute blocks. So say we have 9 blocks here. We got 9 blocks, right? And then you take an equal amount of time and stack blocks in each category of this regard, in this specific instance, and you take time to stack your 9 blocks. You only got 9 blocks to spare, and you take it evenly spread amongst these 3 categories. Sure, very well rounded, you're very focused in your intent, and you're equally distributing some of these things in your life. But if you're trying to excel and differentiate yourself amongst others, you can't naturally distribute these 9 blocks. You're gonna run out of time, or you're not gonna get to where you want in your career, or the type of family man you're gonna be. But you'll be even in all categories. So whatever keeps you asleep at night, that's where you should hold your head at and keep focus at. In that way, but you're not necessarily going to excel extravagantly in any regard. Chris Stefano says it on History of Hyenas on one episode. I can't think of specifically how he said it, but there's no grass is greener mentality with certain stuff. It's always a matter of give and take. So obviously, if you're giving more to one area of your life, it's going to take away from another. So that's kind of where I get this theory. It's like building a 2K player, right? If everybody had a socialist 2K account. How would you be able to build a player? Would everybody build the same player? No, obviously people would put a lot more VC into tattoos and gear and things of that nature. Or some people would almost always, or put all of their effort into improving the player, which would be the smartest thing. But if you still have these same 9 blocks, excuse me if I make a math mistake here, because it's very like me to do that, to fuck up my math, as I did with all the dates that I gave you in this podcast as well. So let's just say you put one block in be your boys, bitches and bongs and stuff, but you take a lot of time to put effort into your career, and you stack all these blocks here. So that's 6 total blocks, and you got the last 3, you throw them in here. Obviously, if you take a lot of time and effort to, excel in your career, you're going to have, success in that specific thing because you put a lot of time and effort into it. And obviously, you gave a lot to this, so it's going to take from this, right? It's going to take from that. or you're just gonna have the same amount of effort you put in your family and all that stuff, your destiny, your siblings, grandma, grandpa, whatever. And that's kind of the theory in this regard, is that obviously there's going to be give and take with a lot of stuff that we do. And it's important to understand what you're taking from and where you're giving to.
And I think that's just a simple way to kind of look at stuff. I think that's about it for today. I rambled and spoke for a lot longer than I intended to. Just trying to re-regulate my body right now, being back home. Red light glasses, blasting red light in my face. Been doing this for a few days now, just trying to get my immune system back to tea, because I did chug a lot of the Minnesota tap water. It tasted so good. The state of 10,000 lakes, for whatever reason, their water level must have been a little higher and a little bit more pure. I just hope I don't lose any teeth like a middle of the state Minnesotan, because of my obsession with tap water and my lack of going to buy fresh water from a bottle. But we're just going to kind of wean off on this one. Thanks you guys for listening. It's Halloween, so I got my lights, got my mask, and trick or treat, smell my feet, give me something good to eat. You guys take care and have a good night, day, afternoon, morning. Love you. Take care.